For this afternoon's Works with DW Spectrum webinar. Today we're joined by Andrew Knuesel with DoorBird. We're talking about the Smart DoorBell Interface. Excuse me, Andrew's the head of sales over at DoorBird. Thanks for joining us. So why don't you go ahead and tell us about DoorBird, the company.
Great. As Patrick mentioned, my name is Andrew. I am head of sales for DoorBird U.S. And so let's start out with a little information about the company. So DoorBird, founded in Berlin, Germany, where the headquarters still sits. In 2009, DoorBird released its first kind of iteration of the product as we know it now. It was done under the name of Thousand Eyes. The idea was the CEOs recognized the need for an app-based, cloud-based security camera. And then later folded in the idea of the two-way audio communication and became what we know today as DoorBird. DoorBird was first launched in the US in 2014 here in the States, followed up in 2015 by the opening of the first official US sales and support office in San Francisco, California. So since that time, DoorBird has seen a good adoption rate, a lot of traction, particularly in the custom integrator market. And as well as security vendors, gate control, pretty much industries looking for that two-way audio, that app-based video, and the ability to trigger events from the app. So we have seen ourselves become sort of one of the leading manufacturers in our product category, which is very exciting for us. So I think we'll jump into a high-level product overview. So let's start with what the DoorBird does. So the fundamental, the kind of foundational feature of the DoorBird is when a visitor pushes the doorbell, it's going to send a notification to the smart device running the DoorBird app. Once the user swipes open on that notification, they will have the live video feed. They'll be able to activate a two-way audio communication and then also trigger the built-in relay via the app, triggering a door strike or a gate motor, et cetera, to grant access to the visitor. Some of the features that are the same across all of the DoorBird product line, it is the HD video camera with night vision capability. There is an IR cut filter, so in a low light condition, the IRs will kick on, go black and white, so night mode, not a problem. There is also a configurable motion detector built in. And every DoorBird model has at least one relay built into the back that can be triggered via the app. So those are some of the basic features, right? These are the features that are true across all of the models in the line. Once we start looking at the individual models and seeing some of the additional features is where we start to see the DoorBird really start to set itself apart. For example, some models have an RFID reader built in. We have other models that have a keypad built in for access control pins, and as well as sending HTTP requests. In the back of all the DoorBirds, there is a terminal block where you can make connections to third-party access control devices or chimes. The relays that we mentioned earlier, every model has at least one relay built in. Some have two that can be selectively triggered. And again, there are terminals where you can wire in, say a biometric reader or a third-party keypad or access control device. You can also bring in a hardwired chime. If, maybe it's a retrofit and they have a chime in the house they want to keep ringing. That can be triggered from the DoorBird as well. As far as the look of the units, we have a good number of finishes available. So one of the things definitely setting us apart from some of the other products out there in the market is aesthetically what we bring to the table. So we have stainless steel, very popular in the States, as is the bronze finish, the brushed titanium finish, very popular. And then we also have, you can see there on the screen as well, a selection of kind of more custom colors. So if you do have somebody and they decide no, I need this to match the Ferrari, we have like a hot rod red we can do as well. So whatever, if they spent a lot of money on the fixtures in the front of the house and they want something substantial and that's going to show off the landscaping and the other efforts they've made on the look of the house, we can help you with that. So all the features we're talking about also available in multi-tenant unit models. So we have units that have individual call buttons. We can do those up to 18. Then we have units that support up to 100 apartments, and those have a keypad plus digital display for scrolling the tenant directory. And also true across the entire product line are some of the other features. And these are kind of actually more so what bring us here today. The units are all SIP enabled. So whether it be a commercial office or a very large estate, MDUs in particular, it's a useful feature to have for that. You can pair the DoorBirds with a SIP server. And now instead of just relying on the app as that point of that point of interface for the user, you can have it ringing landline phones. You can have it calling, like a cellular phone to grant access and communicate with the visitor. The DoorBirds also have an open API, which made it open programming-wise to be paired with Control4 systems, home automation, building management systems, as well as the Spectrum VMS. So being paired with the Spectrum VMS, you now have the ability to give your customer a real unified interface for those access points, let's say on a commercial property, like an office building. So even above and beyond just monitoring what's going on at that door, now you can be getting alerts, for example, if there's motion, you can be getting alerts if somebody rings the doorbell, as well as having the ability from the Spectrum interface to activate access control events like triggering the door strike, what have you. So as far as how all this works, the aforementioned open API. So we have instructions available on the DoorBird website, as well as the Digital Watchdog website, that will walk you through how to make this integration happen. And the instructions are actually all pretty straightforward. And to give you guys an idea of what all that looks like, let's go ahead and just jump right into a walkthrough of, pardon me, I'm just going to move this. So you should all be able to see me now. If you can't, Patrick, hopefully jump in and let me know if I'm speaking and all you can see is a blank screen.
We see you. We see your interface there. We see the Spectrum
Excellent.
interface. I will encourage the audience as Andrew goes through the setup here, that the GoToWebinar interface, there's a question, the ability to submit your questions, and we'll try to get those answered once Andrew's gone through the process of integrating a DoorBird with DW Spectrum. Thanks.
Yep, great. And also, speaking to that point, if you have any questions regarding like specific models of DoorBird, et cetera, feel free to ask those as well. I know I took a real high level overview of the product line, but I figured this was kind of more exciting and what everybody was here to see. So I figured it'd be good to kind of get to this right away. So let's jump right into it. First things first, let's say we want to add DoorBird cameras to the interface. Actually, really, really easy. So I already have 2 added that you can see right here. So I'm not going to do it live, but when I wanted to add these, once the DoorBirds were on the same network as the VMS, in about a minute, Spectrum found them and listed them here on the left. And I renamed them DoorBird 1, DoorBird 2. I think they came up as like DoorBird Intercom D101S, but the Spectrum was able to find them on its own very, very quickly. If for some reason Spectrum is not finding them, not a big problem. What you can do is add them manually as well. So if you go to add device, all you need to do is put in the URL for the RTSP stream. That can be found in the DoorBird API document. This document is available on our website. Just scroll all the way to the bottom of the page. There's a link that says API. Click it, download it. There you go. And the URL just looks like this right here. And all you're doing in here is just adding the IP address of the camera and the port, which I believe typically is 88557. And the login credentials are, that you can see here, it says login password that's going to ask for. Actually, you know, maybe I'll bring this up here because this is maybe a better place to talk about that. So once the cameras are found by the VMS, it's also going to want those credentials. So you're going to click edit credentials, and it is just the information from the digital passport that is found here on the left side. It is the user login credentials, not the admin, but the user. It's the credentials ending in 0001. So you're going to add those, you're going to hit apply, you're going to hit OK, and that's going to add the cameras. So now the cameras are up and running in the Spectrum VMS. So I think obviously the feature that kind of kicks this all off, right, is ringing the doorbell and having it record in the Spectrum VMS. So I'm gonna switch views here. So this is, I just left my webcam and now I'm looking, this is camera in DoorBird 1, right? So the first step is going into the rules here. And I've already added it, so so you didn't have to watch me do it sort of in real time, but I will walk through it so you can see what I did. So like many things in the VMS, it all starts with adding this rule, right? So if you click add, it'll bring up a rule for you to configure. I'm going to take that one away because I already have it added. So what I'm doing is I'm going to create a generic event. And what that is an event that will come from the DoorBird, hit the Spectrum VMS and trigger the recording, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to when, and I'm going to select generic event. And I need to give that generic event a name, right? So it's carrying from the DoorBird to the VMS, and it's going to be called DoorBird 1. I can name it whatever I want. So I named it DoorBird 1, as right now I'm 2 DoorBirds going, so DoorBird 1 seemed to make sense. So DoorBird 1, the action area, do. So what do I want to happen when this generic event hits the VMS from the DoorBird? I want it to start camera recording. I'm going to select my camera, DoorBird 1, and then the interval for action, I can actually uncheck this box, and the interval for action just refers to how long the VMS will wait between triggering the event again. I set it down to 5 seconds, right? So I want to be able to hit that DoorBird a number of times and have it just keep triggering. The fixed duration, so the duration of the recording, I set to 5. Obviously, might want that longer, but I set it to 5 just so I could trigger it a number of times and kind of have it just keep operating. So that is all set up, and the VMS all set up. That's good. But now there's more for me to do on the DoorBird side. So I'm going to go to, I'll go to overview here. So what you're looking at, actually, maybe I'll make this a little bit, I apologize for all the window work here you have to watch. What we're looking at now, this is the DoorBird web admin interface. So what I'm about to do, configuring on the DoorBird side, can be done either through the DoorBird app by logging in with the admin credentials, or it can be done on this web interface, also logged in with the admin credentials. So both are good, but we're going to be doing some URL stuff here, so it seems better to do it in here than the tiny screen on my phone. So the first thing I'm going to do is create an HTTP call. So as mentioned, the thing that's triggering the recording to start is a call from the DoorBird to the VMS. So first thing I'm going to do is give it a name. The name should match what I already put into the Spectrum VMS, which is DoorBird 1. So now once that call comes from the DoorBird, it's going to be called DoorBird 1, and the VMS will know, oh, this is what I do when I see DoorBird 1 come in. And then I'm going to add my URL. So the URL is essentially the command coming from the DoorBird saying, hey, do this thing. You don't have to memorize all this that you're seeing right here. It is all already done for you in the instructions here. So what you can do is just copy and paste what I'm highlighting right now. So here's the URL for the HTTP request. So as you can see, there are some sections here that you will need to update. There's admin, password, and then the 4 X's, right? So admin is the name of the DoorBird, name of the digital Watchdog server, the Spectrum server. I never renamed mine, so mine is still just named admin. So I can just leave that admin. Actually, I'll show you on here. The password, which you can all see now, so I guess I'll have to change later. The password for the server, I put as 201 Spear Street. And this here is the IP address of the server. So this is actually also easy to find. If you don't know it off the top of your head, you can go to the server, right click, go to server settings, and it's right there. All right, so I hit save. Oh, I almost forgot, there's one more thing to do. Do hit save though, so hit save, then do this. Go to schedule for doorbell. And what this is in the DoorBird, it is telling the DoorBird what to do when the DoorBird is rung, essentially, right? So schedule for DoorBird, I'm gonna go here. So right now, it's always sending a push notification. That's what the blue means. The blue means due or active. So what I'm interested in though is the HTTP calls. So I already have it all highlighted blue, which is good because that means it's working. If it was white, not working. So on the DoorBird side now, I should be all set up. So what I'm going to do is ring DoorBird 1 here. And there we go. And you saw a bunch of stuff happen. I'll speak to that in a second. But if we go like this now and scroll all the way over this way, there you go. You can see that green swirly bar there. That means it is recording. So successfully activated recording from the DoorBird button push. So I'm actually going to go ahead and click that off. So you saw all the activity that happened on my screen when I hit that doorbell. That's probably another thing that you would want to activate. So now that we have, I'm going to switch back over here. So now that we have the DoorBird setup and the VMS setup to record when somebody hits that button, then maybe we imagine it's a commercial application, right? And they have security desks, and they always want to know when somebody hits that button. How do we make that happen? Well, I can show you how to do that also. As is the same with the doorbell push, it's all going to start with these rules, right? So we go back into the rules here, and again, I already have it added, but I'll walk you through what I did here. So it's the same as the doorbell recording. It's going to start with that generic event. So I'm going to create a rule when, same generic event. And since it is the same generic event, I'm going to have it be DoorBird 1 again. So this is just another thing that will trigger when the VMS senses that call that says DoorBird 1. But instead of camera recording, I wanted to do show on alarm layout. Camera, again, I'm going to specify that it is DoorBird 1, the camera that I want this to be active on. And I unchecked the interval for action, meaning I want it to happen anytime somebody hits that button. So I don't want it to wait. If somebody is crazy and they want to say just bang on the button, it's going to keep sending me that alert. For all administrators, but if there are kind of tiers of permissions you want to manage, you can have it set for like just the receptionist or just the security people, but I'm the only person in this VMS right now, so it's everybody because it's just me. So I'm going to hit apply, I'm going to hit OK. And now even if I am not looking at camera 1, so I'm back to my webcam here, if somebody hits that doorbell button, it's going to bring me to camera 1, it's going to give me this alert. So I know somebody's ringing the doorbell. And I don't have to do anything on the DoorBird side because I already did it. We did that for the doorbell button push recording. So that HTTP call is already in there. So all we had to do was add an additional rule on the VMS side. So I think the next logical question, right, is what if I have more than one DoorBird? Can I have the VMS differentiate which DoorBird is calling? Answer to that is also yes. So I have DoorBird 1 and DoorBird 2. All I did for DoorBird 2 was replicate the same rules I did for DoorBird 1. So I activated the recording on the button push, and I activated the show layout. The difference is the name of the generic event. So I named this one DoorBird 2. And likewise, in the DoorBird configuration, you can see here, this HTTP call is named DoorBird 2, and the text that it's carrying with it is also DoorBird 2. So it's everything we just did for DoorBird 1, except we're changing everything that is DoorBird 1 to DoorBird 2. Again, you can update that, that verbiage to whatever you want. You can have it be, like back door, front door, etc. So if we go back to this now, so let's go back to the webcam view here. So DoorBird 1 and DoorBird 2. So as you can see here, it's telling me which DoorBird it is. Very handy. So, and these notifications popping up on the side created the same way as the alarm pop-up. It's just a matter of selecting alarm layout, or you can see here, show notification. And the setup is the same. So now I think the question that will follow this is, so now I know somebody's at the door, what can I do about it? Am I able to trigger an alert? Am I able to trigger the door from the Spectrum VMS? And answer again is yes. So kind of walking you through it. Again, so looking at my webcam view here, you can see I have this light set up behind me. Right now I have this light wired to the relay in the DoorBird, so kind of taking the place of a door strike or gate mode or what have you. So let's kind of walk it through again. I am maybe at my security desk. Somebody rings the doorbell. I'm going to get the pop-up on the alarm layout, and I have this little icon here that says door open. I click on that. Hey, and so you can see the light went on. So again, that could be, that's just a light run to the relay in the DoorBird. So that could be any access control device you'd like. So how I was able to have that happen is camera rules, and I created a rule, again, from the generic, oh, that's not true, not from the generic event. So I created a rule, I'll click on this one. So instead of picking generic event, which we've been doing, I chose soft trigger at DoorBird 1. So I could actually have this apply to any of the cameras. I have DoorBird 1 in here because that is actually the relay I have the lamp running to. Available to, again, some permission settings here you can choose from. And name. So I named it open door, but obviously you can name it whatever you'd like. And icon, I selected this guy here, but as you can see, they have a good variety of icons here. So do is so the do is going to be do HTTP request, and that's located here. So this is essentially the reverse of what we did when we created the recording on the doorbell button push. So it is the VMS that is sending a request to the DoorBird to trigger the relay. So interval for action, you could again just uncheck this. I have it set to once every 1 second between instances. So but you could always just uncheck it also. And the URL looks like this. So again, not expecting everyone to remember that format for the URL. So this can also be found just in the instructions here. And where is it? It's down here. So here is that. So you can just copy and paste this into here. The XXX, that is the IP address for the DoorBird. And one thing you might need to take note of is R equals 1 versus R equals 2. So R equals 1, R just stands for relay. So the DoorBirds I'm using right now only have one relay built into the back. So not much to choose from, it's just R1. But if I was using, let's say, one of the models with a keypad built in, those have 2 relays built into the back. So that would be where you're specifying relay 1 or relay 2 as in regards to what's going to be triggered. And you do need to add the login credentials here to authorize access to the relay. And that is, again, just the same logins you've been using to add the DoorBird, et cetera. They're just found on the digital passport. So let's see, it still works. Yep, there it goes. So there are a lot of other things that you could do here with the DoorBird in the integration. I picked these things because they are more specific to the DoorBird, but you can also have it creating rules, for example, to like trigger alerts when there is motion detected. So do I have that already? Yep, motion detected. So where you would set that up is actually, I can show you quickly, is in the expert section here of the settings. You're just clicking this to force motion detection. Hit OK, and now you're seeing that green light go off. It's going to trigger recording and that notification when there's motion on the camera. So it's, actually it's very simple also, and that would be the same for any DoorBird camera you add. Yep. So that is what the integration looks like. So Patrick, now would be a good time to open the floor to questions.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, everybody out there, please submit your questions. I would just point out back on that on the rule that you were showing there.
Yes.
In terms of that, and I know you covered it, but just to reiterate, there's no plugins needed here. All the functionality that Andrew just showed between the DoorBird product and DW Spectrum is running natively within each device. So there's no additional, other than the generic event or the do HTTP request and that type of information, there's no additional software or plugins or anything needed to make this work. And also notice on the event that the available to, so you can assign this to either specific users or users with a specific role. And so in terms of, specifically the soft trigger, for instance, this is only going to show up on users that have that user role or that level of access, both in the client as well as in their DW Spectrum mobile app. And then the scheduling function down below, Andrew showed in DoorBird where you could schedule to send HTTP requests from the DoorBird product. Same thing here. In Spectrum, you can schedule when you want this soft trigger to be activated so that it's only there. So in the case of DoorBird is always going to send HTTP in that case. And so we're going to receive that as a generic event, but we might not do soft triggers unless it's after hours or something along those lines.
Yep, and likewise on the DoorBird side, if it is in office and you want to remove the possibility that somebody will start triggering things on the weekends, or you don't want the possibility of somebody granting like after hours access, via the Spectrum VMS, just like I'm doing here, you just unshade those areas, and now the DoorBird will not send that HTTPS call. So a lot of ability to kind of like dial it in and make sure you're configuring it to the way the customer is wanting it.
Exactly. So no additional plugins are needed to do this. It's just native between the two devices. Keep in mind this particular webinar, we're talking about DW Spectrum. So in terms of our hardware, we're talking specifically about our Blackjack NVRs. So any of our Blackjack NVRs are going to be powered by DW Spectrum. And so the DoorBird solution will work with Blackjacks that are powered by DW Spectrum specifically. So Andrew, a couple questions that have come in regarding, you mentioned in your high-level overview of the product line, but maybe going back and talking a little bit more about the products. Like you mentioned the RFID reader, and so that brought up a couple of questions about reader compatibility, Wiegand format encryption, bit format and encryption, and reader compatibility with access control systems. So we did a works with webinar with PDK, Pro Data Key, for instance. So does the DoorBird product, is it compatible with PDK?
Sure, not a problem. So pardon my flip in here. So the reader in the DoorBird is not Wiegand. So it is not proprietary to us specifically. The reader is, so again, not Wiegand. So there is no Wiegand output, and the RFID reader credential-wise is looking for a 64-bit, 125 kilohertz credential. So if you happen to have one, it will work, but we also sell them. So that is, on that level, there's nothing you can take out of the DoorBird on like a hardware level. Like, so, the wiring isn't there for it to run into, let's say, like a Wiegand compatible panel. That being said, PDK, and definitely correct me if I'm wrong, if I ever recall correctly, it is a cloud, there's a cloud integration option. So I'll say it like this, anything that can be done over the LAN, that integration would work with some caveats. So I think currently the DoorBird is not putting out much of a paper trail. So if the paper trail can happen on the PDK side, with the DoorBird sort of just acting as like a contact closure, if that makes sense. So the PDK would be able to put out a paper trail that says, let's say the DoorBird using these terminals is running into, let's say one of PDK's modules, and maybe let's say terminal 1. On the paper trail, it could exist as terminal 1, triggered the opening. But aside from that, We do have a cloud API that is in development now and that will be coming out. And I believe that is a point of integration that would work with PDK. But so currently, any integration that would have to happen via these terminals, which is just a contact closure coming from DoorBird or from PDK to DoorBird to trigger an opening, to trigger either our relay or their relay. But with that, it's pretty much just a contact closure. It's not, for example, carrying with it like the RFID information, like for example, like which tag was used. I mean, right. Hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, and I mean, I threw PDK in there just to kind of, you know, bring it back to the series,
sure.
but at the same time, in terms of, and maybe that was unfair to you, in terms of your reader capability that's built into the device, and so are the fobs generic, or are they specific to you, or they? No,
they're pretty much generic. It's just that 64-bit is very uncommon. So typically, Wiegand standard is, I believe, 26-bit. So 26. So that's where the major cutoff lies. Is our reader needs a 64-bit credential. So if you happen to have a box of 64-bit 125 kilohertz fobs in your office, it would work. But it's really atypical. Nobody uses that size fob. It's just our CEO chose it thinking that it made the reader more secure, which I guess it sort of does. And nobody uses those credentials, so there's a real good chance nobody's carrying around a credential that'll work. But it also is not Wiegand, so it does remove our reader from some of the integration possibilities out there. But side note, we do have a refresh of the models that have RFID readers built in. We do have a refresh planned that will bring all the readers Wiegand. So in the future, that is part of the plan. Okay.
So another question that had come up again in terms of the product line and the camera that's on board. Camera in terms of its adjustability, or that you get into those entryways where the person might not necessarily be standing; they might be standing just off to the side.
Sure.
What's the dimensions on the camera? Yeah.
Oh, that is a good question. It is 180 degrees. So let's do this. So here's the DoorBird. Here's the D101S. You're about to get a real exciting shot on the wall. So that 180 degrees is very, very wide. So right now, if you figure, how good of a demonstration is this? I don't know. I guess maybe I should have thought this through. I'm standing essentially right now, I am to the side of the camera, right? So I am pretty much, I'm almost half of my shoulder is behind the camera, and you can still kind of get me in the shot. So if I just kind of creep up. So it is very wide. Horizontally, 180 degrees. Vertically, it's 90. So that wide shot, really not a problem. You can get pretty much, so long as they're not behind the camera, you can pretty much get them in shot. So.
Okay. Use a keypad. Yeah, so the access control guys are starting to chime in. So if not, that's where I get. Yeah. So if not Wiegand, can you use your keypad to send a PIN code? Would be, I guess, an alternative way to communicate within those systems.
Yes, absolutely. So the keypad. One second here. Yes, the keypad absolutely can send. I'm sorry, I apologize. I'm looking to see if I actually have a PowerPoint here I can pull up. So the PIN pad will send an access code as well. That is all managed via the app or through the web interface. So those keypad models will hold up to 100 PIN pads, and you can create, schedule a PIN. So the same way we're looking at the scheduling for this HTTP call, you can do this. You can do the same thing with with access control pins. So you can schedule when they're active. You can schedule them to be like a date range. You can schedule them to be one-time use. And once you've created them, you can delete them from the app and send them to visitors and what have you. So if there's like a gardener that comes every Wednesday, you can create a pin that's only good on Wednesdays and then send it to the gardener. So yeah, that's not a problem.
Okay, so you brought up multi-tenant functionality.
Yes.
And so question was, do the callbox models have multi-tenant functionality to send alert to each tenant?
Yes, they do. Give me 1 second here. I'm going to sort of switch gears on. So again, I apologize for my flipping here. So yes, so the multi-tenant here, what it will do is that ability to hold up to 100 apartments, that is, the DoorBird can create up to 100 separate apartment accounts. So each account exists individually and separately from all the other accounts with unique user credentials and passwords. So in the DoorBird admin area, you will create that account. It will generate those user credentials, and then just right from the app, you can email or text those to the tenant. So if somebody finds me in the display and calls me, I get that push notification. Any of my roommates who have the account registered to their DoorBird app will get that push notification, and nobody else.
Okay. Question about the audio recording. I don't think you're recording the audio in Spectrum. Is that from your system?
I believe so. The system does have the ability to transmit the audio as well. So the DoorBird, as mentioned, is SIP enabled. So the DoorBird can send the audio over the LAN. So it could be done. If for this demonstration, I did not get it up and running, but I don't want to speak out of turn, I guess. But if the VMS does have the ability to take the audio off the LAN, that call can be made from the DoorBird. So native to DoorBird, you can make one peer-to-peer SIP call. So if the endpoint of that SIP call were, let's say, the VMS, you could transmit the audio in that way, if that's possible on the digital Watchdog side. Yeah, no,
so Spectrum's going to bring the audio in via this, so it's going to come in via the on-the stream.
Okay, then yeah.
With the video.
Gotcha.
Right? Yeah, so. Yeah.
So then it sounds like no, yeah.
Okay, so next question out there, I'll try to understand this one. Question out there was basically, does the DoorBird have motion detection?
Yes. So
talking about zones, I guess. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. So let's do this. Let's see if I can. 1 second here. All right. So if I go into, this is probably a good place to do it. So motion detector. Actually, you know what? I'm going to close one of these. I think we need them both open right now. So motion detector enabled zones. So this is the D101S. Right. Yep, D101S DoorBird 1. So right now it does not seem to want to be popping up. You know what it is? All right, bear with me. Refresh. The web interface does time out after a little bit. You got to log back in. All right, here we go. Is this better? There we go. So yeah, so this is the D101S. The D101S models, I'm sure you've all seen this before. You are able to gray out what squares, what sections you want the motion detector to ignore. The D21 models, the D11 and the D21 models, they have they actually have a more sophisticated, let's call it, a more sophisticated motion detector, and you're able to configure that for distance and direction of motion. So rather than just graying out squares, you're able to configure it to ignore anything, for example, beyond 6 feet. So if there's a street at the end of the yard, cars are always going by, you can dial it in. So it's only triggering motion that's within 6 feet of the motion detector. And you can also have it filter by direction. So coming or going. So you can tell it, ignore any motion that's, for example, going away from the motion detector. So if you don't want it to go off every time somebody's leaving the house, you just have it detect only motion that's approaching the door.
Okay, very nice. Can we connect the DoorBird? Can we connect to the DoorBird without anyone impressing the unit at the door? Which looks like you're able to connect without. Okay.
Yep, absolutely. So the DoorBird app will pull up the video without any event triggering the video. So you at any time can log in. If you wanted to just sit at work and watch your door, you could do it. Bring up the app. It will bring up the live video from the station. Likewise, the two-way audio, you can tap on that two-way audio button. It'll open it up. You can speak in here, and the trigger, if I wanted to, I could just sit all day, triggering that door strike if I wanted to. Something to note is that the video streams all time out, with the exception of the video stream from the kind of specific now, but the video stream from the D10 model, so the D101S, and any of the models that start D21, all of those cameras, when connected to a VMS or an NVR, provide constant video. So if, for example, in the Spectrum software here, if I wanted to sit and just watch this video all day, I could, because that's a constant stream of video. But if I were in the app, for example, and I opened up the video, it would time out after 3 minutes. So that's, so yeah, you can always access the video, but it will, unless integrated with something else, it will time out after 3 minutes.
Right. So your video, and that video is cloud-based and subscription-based?
The video that comes into the app is, it breaks up in two ways. So the DoorBird camera will make available on the local area network, I believe, 2 streams of video, the live video. So if you are on the same network as the DoorBird and you were to log in through the app and you were the first person to do that, that video stream is coming from the local area network. The second person to log into the app, their video stream from the local area network. That third person, since there are no more video streams available on the local area network, that video is coming from the cloud. So that is, it's really, there's not much of a difference, but that is something that is important if there is, let's say, integrating with, let's say, a Control4 system. Their panels are pulling video from the LAN, so that is something to do. That is sort of significant in some situations, but that is all free. None of that costs any money. The only thing that would possibly cost money regarding cloud-based video is if you wanted to do the cloud storage, like the video cloud storage. That is a subscription fee, like an annual fee. It's like $53 a year for storing video clips in the cloud.
Yeah, that's just going to store those quick little clips in the cloud. But,
exactly, right.
And going back again, because a couple people are asking, there's no, that is not required to make it work with DW Spectrum.
No.
So DW Spectrum is going to record to the Spectrum server locally on site, just as you would with any other camera as part of the Spectrums. Right. There's no recurring cost to that or annual cost for the storage of that. Again, if you buy a DoorBird doorbell and a Spectrum solution, that's all you need. No additional software, no additional recording packages applied to it.
Right. Which is very cool. Yeah. If priority is any sort of, if security is any sort of priority, it's a great solution. Those video clips, those 20-second recordings in the cloud, they don't back up significantly. They run out up to 20 seconds. As far as archiving and searching, there's not much there, but and it costs extra money. Whereas this is, It's just it's the hardware, it's the software, nothing extra, no recurring cost to you as the installer.
So people were asking, so if you could, since you've got the interface, if you go on your browser just to dwcc.tv.
Okay.
Yeah. No, it's sorry.
Oh, one more time.
Sorry, it's gonna be DWCC. Yeah, there you go. Now .tv. Yep, there you go.
All right.
That should get you to our website.
Great.
This way. Okay, so close that.
All right.
Hit the support button right there.
Or so do I just like support videos or something?
Just hit support again.
Okay.
If you hit that the second time,
there we go.
That'll drop. People are asking where they find the documentation that you referenced. So this is our knowledge base.
Very knowledgeable base.
And if you scroll up to the top there's a bar. You can just type in DoorBird.
Gotcha. And there we go.
That'll bring up your integration guide with DW Spectrum. So basically everything that Andrew just went over in terms of the interoperability between the two devices is documented here on our website, and you'll find it in a pretty similar place on your website, right?
Yep. If we go to like this and go to DoorBird Connect. So just top on the right here, connect, click that, and where are we? There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
DW Spectrum. So yeah, easily found. And of course, we're always here in our office, ready to help. So if there are questions, happy to walk you through.
Somebody's asking because you're showing up on your webcam. Yes, I will say there is. We've got GoToWebinar here. We're cloud to cloud to cloud. So there is a little bit of the DoorBird and the Spectrum by itself. You wouldn't see nearly what you're seeing with Andrew talking through his webcam in terms of a lag through GoToWebinar. It would just be the two devices. Somebody's asking about that. Crestron home compatibility. It's a specific version of Crestron.
Nothing built yet. So that being said, again, we have the open API. If there is somebody who have that could take it on, but nothing pre-built. It is, we would love it if we had it, but when it is something we would like to see. But yeah, currently nothing is ready yet, like pre-built. So.
Okay. Great. I think we got them all, but we will review the list, and if we missed any, Andrew and I will get back to you via email after this. Anybody else has any questions, please submit them now. Otherwise, we'll probably wrap this up.
All right, let's see, I can put
anything else you can think of, Andrew?
No. I think, it's a good overview. And again, if you have any questions, if they're not in the instructions, reach out to me and I can definitely help. And yeah, we appreciate everybody attending.
Yeah, absolutely. We appreciate your efforts on this. Okay, everybody. So thanks again for joining us.